Hi, my name is Adrienne Smith. I'm the President and Chief Executive of the New Mexico Direct Caregivers Coalition. The Coalition is an organization that advocates for New Mexico caregivers. Our organization advocates for caregivers' wages, professional development, their education, their training, credentialing, all these kinds of things so that they can better help themselves and better help those they serve. I'm here today with Ray Benton, a member.
Hi, Adrienne.
Hi.
How are you today?
Ray's a member of the board of directors for the coalition. Ray, first of all, you have a business. What's your business?
I'm a tax accountant. I have a tax office over on Central Avenue near Tramway and Wandabo.
Good. Ray, you're on the board of directors. You're a care recipient. As a care recipient, how do you benefit from the organization? And we know how it benefits from you, among other things, with your good ideas, but also your background as a tax accountant. As a care recipient, how do you benefit from the organization?
Well, I've been receiving care for years, since I had an electrical accident working for the Columbus and Southern Ohio Electric Company, and I caused the loss of both of my hands. And when I joined the board, it was my goal to try to present to the board information about what affects the care recipient and their families and how they relate to each other. Because we've gone through a lot of things. When something like that happens to you, it's a major change in your life, and it's a major change in all the people, your friends and your family that are around you. And I think that we need to give more attention to the families and how they relate to the caregivers. And so that was one of the reasons I joined this board.
So you've your wife, and then you've got your children, and to some degree or another, have they been your caregivers?
My wife is my caregiver. She's been taking care of me for 50-some years now. She helps me with dressing, because the arms work real well when you're extending away from your body, but when you're trying to work close, they don't work so good. And they open as you move away, and it's a movement that it's a kind of an optical illusion, actually, because it looks like the cable is moving, and actually it's the arm moving along the cable. But so she helps me every day for the past 50-some years.
So the coalition is an organization that conducts some programs and advocates for caregivers. Among the things that we do deliver are customized training for caregivers and financial education for caregivers. In all of the things that we do, and we do listening to caregivers sessions in which we listen to caregivers on their issues and their problems and their challenges. And in each of these, we do encourage care recipients to come. What's interesting is, as a board member, you've really kind of focused our attention also on care recipients' needs.
Yes. When I had my accident, there was nobody to call that my wife could call and say, how do I handle this? And it's a major life change. And so what I would like to do is to see if we can't provide some support to those families and how they relate to each other. We're running into a situation where we got the baby boomers coming online, and there's over 10,000 people a day signing up for Social Security and Medicare. So we're going to be having a situation where people are going to be really have to get involved, because we can't have nursing homes housing everybody. And home care is going to be one of the major things that we're going to have to relate to.
So one of the facts that we know in our coalition, one of the national facts, is that in the next few years, there will be 3 to 5 million of people who will be looking for care in their homes rather than nursing homes. So we're going to have a major shift as a country. What you're proposing actually doesn't help just your family, but it affects families all over the country. Is that what I hear you saying too?
Yes, because we're going to have to start relating to each other and find ways to live in different situations. Everybody gets affected. My daughter earlier this year got cancer. That's a major effect on my family. She lives in North Carolina, but I still here, and I have to relate to that situation. And how do I relate to it? I have learned that I need to talk to her more. She needs to have my input, because I can give her my experience of how I handle my disability, and now she needs to be able to handle her disability.
So a little of what you're talking about as an addition to what the coalition might do is help support these conversations in communities across the state, like conversations among families and extended family members along with caregivers, so that they can kind of better figure out the issues that
Yes,
they're facing.
these are difficult questions that have to be answered. And every situation, somebody is affected. And the question is how are they affected? I was looking for her to be our caregiver. Now I'm turning around to be her caregiver. So what relationship has changed? That changes our relationship. And we need to have a talk and discuss that. My wife now and I are now having a different conversation than we were before. And we need to have someone that sometimes to help us through those questionings. And maybe what I would like to see is to have some coaching lessons that we provide training for coaching people and get them to talk in the family of how it affects us. My sister had took care of my mother. And we didn't realize till later how much effect that had and stress was on her. And she had nobody to relieve her. And so she ended up having to have my mother go someplace else, which was another major change. And we didn't deal with that probably right either. But we needed to, we didn't talk about it. We didn't get involved enough with it. So I'm trying to provide a path where we can help people get more involved and talk about things. And how they affect us.
So it is a lot of just communication, networks of communication, and keeping the lines open so that when these changes occur, because we often can't predict them, most often we can't predict them.
That's
you have
right.
to be willing to talk about it.
We have to be willing to talk about it. And to some of them are really hard issues.
So what's the venue for which you might have these sort of formation of these support groups and communities? Where would they occur?
Well, I'm thinking that we should approach the churches and the senior citizens, senior centers, a community center, an organization, lodge, or whoever would be willing to take on a little bit of responsibility on this and get involved, and that we can provide them the help and support so that when something happens to someone in their community, they have someone to call and say, I'm going through this process, help me out. And where do I get the information? And that's what I see the coalition doing. We have vast amounts of information on the internet. We have information of different organizations that you can contact depending on what it is you have a problem with. If you got cancer, there's an organization for cancer. If you got Alzheimer's, there's an organization for Alzheimer's. So we can provide those connections. And the churches can provide those connections, and they have people in their community that they know that we don't know that can provide a resource to those people who have situations.
And they've got the meeting area too.
And they have the meeting area where we can put programs on for the community that brings this to the attention of the community so that they become more involved. We're going to have to start talking about these situations because we already know that the Social Security and Medicare are stressed, and we can't financially put everybody in a nursing home if they come into that situation. And we need to really be more prepared before we get there. Don't wait till the last minute and then say, oh yeah, what do I do now?
So the coalition is developing a program guide for local communities so that you can leave that with the local community. If somebody, I have an example today, somebody from Roswell who said she's got a group already ready to go. What do you need from somebody who calls and says, I want to start a support group here in Roswell? What do you need?
Well, first of all, I need to know what they're willing and not willing to do. Maybe they're not willing to get completely involved, and what level are they willing to get involved? And then we can go out and try to work with them on however it is that they're willing to be a participant. It could be that they just provide some support by having programs in the area, but also they could also get some caregivers and train them to help relieve some of these people who are doing home caregiving on their own, and they need to be able to get out once in a while. There's a whole lot of things that they can do, and the conversations that they have is what's going to improve our medical conditions.
So really, the coalition is acting as just a support to local conversations, people in communities who are already there, and the coalition can be supporting those conversations happening and making the space available so that people can begin to know each other and talk amongst one another.
Yes, because we don't have those programs in place. Now we're going to have to develop them. We're going to have to develop the education programs to get them out to the community. And a lot of it's going to be that we're going to have to find out in the community. And I know when we went to Las Vegas, it was very interesting to me how you were able to create a listening situation to find out what was the problems that the caregivers were receiving. And then we took some action, and one of the things we got involved with was getting the minimum wage changed over, because before they were not on eligible for minimum wage because they were considered the same as a babysitter.
That's right. So the Fair Labor Standards Act regulatory change last, September of 2013 changed all of that.
Right.
Okay.
And we also tried to work with some of them who wanted to be independent.
And the cooperative, the business cooperative.
Yes. And we didn't quite get that off the ground because we still got a lot of work to do. So we're learning to do these things as they're learning.
As they're learning. Good.
And it's going to be an ongoing relationship, I think, that once we make that contact with the right person.
So anybody watching this video who's especially interested in forming a local support group around caregiving and care recipients, what would you like for that person to do?
They should call us, and we'll put them on our call list, and we'll go out, contact them, and start a relationship of support between their organization and our organization, and see what their needs are, and we'll then try to develop programs to help fulfill their needs.
Good, good. Well, thank you, Ray. Thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
You know, there was a movie about if you build a ball field, they'll come. Mm-hmm. If you call us, we'll come.
Thank you, Ray.
You're welcome.
All right.